Violet and Ashton's father was leaving for America to help decide where time should begin. It was Violet's duty to retrieve her brother and bring him to the door to say goodbye, but he was not paying her any attention. Instead, he was absorbed in his piano playing. If she had been luckier, she thought, her twin brother would have inherited her father's obsession with time, at least insofar as learning to play the piano with some sense of it. "Ashton!" she shouted. He ignored her. "Ashton!" she shouted more loudly. She was standing by his shoulder. He could clearly hear her, but was pretending not to. "If music be the food of love, play on," Ashton yelled over his rackety playing. Then he attempted to sing the same lines, along with the music. To think of it as in tune with the music would imply that the music had a tune. Violet, impatient, tapped him on the shoulder with a little force. Ashton finally stopped playing and turned to look at his sister. "I think I play the piano rather well. Perhaps not technically well." "Or well at all," Violet said, smiling. "If I were speaking to someone who was about to do me a very large favour, indeed, who was about to assist me in a most unorthodox scheme, I think perhaps I'd be a little nicer." Violet narrowed her eyes. She did need his help, so she forced a falsely cheerful smile. "Anyone can play technically well, brother," she said sweetly, "but you play with real feeling." "Thank you," Ashton said with a large grin. "Your compliment means ever so much to me." "Father is about to leave, and we must say goodbye." "Ah," Ashton said, and closed the piano. He stood, took Violet's arm, and walked with her toward the door. The two of them were as attractive a pair of two 17-year-olds of fine English breeding could be. Violet was a lovely specimen of her gender, with dark auburn hair, which always seemed to have the look of having been blown in the breeze for a while. She was fair, with rosy cheeks, and though she was a bit tall, she had a fine, womanly figure. Her strong-jawed oval face showed her great intelligence in both the sparkle of her clear grey eyes and the sharply arching smirk of her bow-shaped lips. She seldom took pains with her appearance, and so possessed a carefree beauty that would not have been out of place in a Gothic romance of the sort she loathed. Ashton, also with pale skin and auburn hair, had a more dandyish appearance, as carefully dressed as Violet was careless. He often carried a cane and wore outlandish bespoke jackets made by a tailor in London. Their father, Dr. Joseph Cornwall Adams, was one of the leading astronomers in the country, and Violet and Ashton had grown up crawling the winding tower of stairs to the observatory on the top of their manor, where they would stare at the various devices that moved lenses and recorded images of the night sky. But each of the children had learned different things from this. Ashton had focused on the romance of the stars and the night sky, and as he grew, devoted his energies to poetry and the arts. Whereas Violet saw the brass instruments her father used and decided she would be the next to design such devices. By the age of 8, she had fashioned herself a lab in the basement of the manor, where she taught herself the great principles of the sciences, natural, chemical, and especially mechanical. To deny her genius would be to deny the truth, for she was truly gifted. Since then, she had managed to create many marvellous inventions, much to the delight of her brother and the chagrin of Mrs. Wilkes, their governess. Ashton and Violet headed to the entry foyer and watched the servants load their father's coach in the rain. It was difficult for Violet to hold still, as she was anxious for her father to go. It was not that she wanted him gone. In fact, she already missed him and was sad at his parting. But she had spent the past few weeks orchestrating a great scheme, which would help her to fulfill her dreams, and she could not begin it until her father had left.